guys, how you doing today? Well, today we are in the kitchen and we are getting ready to make a delicious casserole. Now this is one that I have made for a long time and I have made it differently in the past, and I'm going to share with you why I'm doing it a little different today. Now what we're making is a hot chicken salad. So if you've never heard of that and it's new to you, it's like having chicken salad, only it's cooked in the oven as a casserole, and it is really delicious. Now the first thing I'm doing is I've pulled out some frozen chicken breasts, and they've thawed just for a little bit, but they're still pretty solid inside. And I've just got 2 large ones, and I am just going to put them in my Instant Pot. I'm going to add 1 cup of water. I'm going to add a little bit of salt. Let me wash my hands. When you're working with raw chicken, you really want to be careful to keep your hands clean, and your utensils and things that are touching the raw chicken need to be kept away from food surfaces that you're going to be eating from. And so I've washed my hands. I've got these in the Instant Pot, and I'm just going to put the lid on them. I'm going to set it for pressure cook for, I believe, 20 minutes. And it doesn't matter how many chicken breasts you have, because it'll take, well, however long it is to bring it up to temperature, depending on how many you have in there. So I'll put it in there for 20 minutes, and then we'll let it cool down, and then we'll vent it and take them out, and that should do it. Normally, I cook the chicken beforehand. Either I've baked it or I have put it in a pan with some water and just gently cooked it. But today I'm in a hurry, so I'm using the Instant Pot, and it should be perfect. So I'm gonna get this plugged in and I'll be right back. Okay, we are back. Now I have my Instant Pot right over here, and I think I told you 20 minutes. It's actually 12, 13 minutes, and I put mine on 13 minutes for just the 2. You want to have your vent closed because you're wanting to pressure cook it. Also, you want to set your pressure cooker on high. So I set mine 13 minutes on high, vent closed. And now what that's going to do, it's going to come up to pressure. Once it comes up to pressure, it's going to start counting down. And once it's done 13 minutes at pressure, it will click off. We'll let it set for a while, and then if we need to, we'll vent it so that we can open it up. If we don't get around to it as soon as we hope to, it might vent all the way out and come to temperature before we need to open it up. But we'll just see what happens. Now, I told you earlier that I was going to share with you some of the things that we're cooking and why we're doing that. First of all, I'm going to try a new recipe with you today. This is what we're getting ready to make, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But the hot chicken salad has been one of our family's favorites, and it's an easy dish to make, and you're gonna see why and see how good it is here in a little bit. But the recipe that I originally used to make had rice in it. Now, not all hot chicken salads have rice in them, but the one I had did, and it made a really nice casserole. So it was a full meal. It had your carb, your meat, some veggies, and so it was everything in there. But today's hot chicken salad, we're going to make it more keto friendly. So we're not gonna have any of the rice in there. And also, the one that I had that I used to make would have a can of chicken, I guess cream of chicken condensed soup mix, just the cans of cream of chicken. And this won't have it, because if you include that, that also adds some carbs to this dish. But this is going to be delicious, because whether you have the rice or not, it is a delicious hot chicken salad. And I had to search to see if I could find another hot chicken salad just like mine with the rice, and I couldn't. Most of them didn't have the rice in it, so that's good. Now this one that I have has boiled eggs, and a lot of them don't, so that's one thing that mine is a little different with. So what I'm making now is a new recipe, this right here that we're going to do while that's cooking, and this is cloud bread. Now, I have seen this all over the internet, all over YouTube videos, and it's very intriguing to me. And so I wanted to try it, and I thought, well, what better use for it would be to have it with some hot chicken salad. Since I'm leaving out the rice, maybe we need a little bit more filler with the chicken salad. And so we're gonna try making cloud bread. And cloud bread is a keto-friendly bread that has no grains or flour or anything like that. It's made of just a few ingredients. Now, there are several different recipes out there, and I was looking at all of them and I wasn't sure which one to try, but they're all very similar. Most of them, the difference is they either use blended cottage cheese that's all creamed up, cream cheese, or yogurt. And so we're gonna do the one with cream cheese. I think people have liked the cottage cheese one the best. I'm not sure, but I seem to see the reviews saying this is better than, you know, the cream cheese or whatever. We'd have to try that out for ourselves to decide what we think. But today we're gonna try the cream cheese and we'll see how it tastes and we'll be the judge. So what I have right here is I have 4 eggs. I have 2 ounces of cream cheese. Now the recipe calls for low fat, but I don't have low fat. I have the full fat, which is fine. It's just less calories if you use the low fat. It also uses salt, garlic powder, Italian seasoning, and some cream of tartar. So there's not much to it. The only thing that you're gonna have to do is you're going to have to separate your eggs and whip your egg whites. So what I'm going to do first is I am going to separate my eggs. And I tell you, these eggs are wet because today is very humid. Last night we had storms, and today it's been cloudy all morning, and now the sun's coming up and it's getting hot. It's gonna be in the 80s today. Really unusual. But I think we're gonna have a frost later on this week, so I'm still putting off putting anything in the garden because I don't wanna have to cover it. So anything that requires covering in frost, nothing like that's gone in our garden. So what I'm doing here is I'm separating my eggs, and really what I should have done was I'm gonna put my egg yolk in here, I'm gonna put egg whites in here as I crack them, then I'm gonna pour them in here, and that way I won't taint all the eggs if one of them busts a yolk. You don't want any egg yolks in your egg whites, because if that happens, your egg whites will not become nice and fluffy. They won't do that. They don't like that oil from the egg yolk. So what's the weather like in your area right now? Do you have a garden out? Are you planning on doing a garden? And see, that's what I just did. Here I am talking, and I just told you I am putting my egg whites in this, and I started putting one in there, and then my egg yolk cracked, but I caught it in time. Maybe I better do this without talking. Let's try this again. Nothing in here. Now we've got an egg white in there, and if any egg yolk gets in there, we'll just have to use this egg on something else. Nope, we got it in there. So this egg white now goes in here. So now I have 4 nicely separated egg whites, and then I have 4 egg yolks. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this over to my mixer, and you can use a hand mixer too. I'm going to give it a light fluff, and then I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of cream of tartar, and then I'm going to make it stiff peaked, and then I'll bring you back. So now we have these nice and stiff peaks. In fact, it's so stiff, it's not hardly coming out. There we go. So I'm gonna set these aside. And it looks like that has cooked for 10 minutes. So it's just gonna start venting now and come back down to pressure. So what I'm gonna do with my egg yolks is I am going to just mix them up. Then I'm gonna take my cream cheese, 2 ounces of cream cheese, and this is soft. It's been at room temperature. You can always put it in the microwave to soften it up. Just do it really gradually, and that will be good. But you do need it to be soft. So I'm gonna mix that in with these egg yolks. So like I was saying a while ago, before I almost made a big mistake and got egg yolks in my egg whites, is so we have, you know, the basics out. We have the carrots, we have lettuce, onions, potatoes. I did put some little green onions out from seed, spinach. Our spinach is doing good. And everything's just kind of trying to come up, but we've had such cold weather for a while and then such hot weather, and then it was dry. We didn't have any rain after we planted it, and now we're having good rain. So I think everything is gonna start really growing now. But if you watched earlier this spring, I had started some seeds, and I also had put some of our white sweet potatoes, the ones that have the white flesh, in water, and was getting ready to sprout some new plants. Since I'm not sure what kind they are and I'm not sure where I could get them, I need to always grow my own. And so that's what I do every year. And I was telling you that it takes forever for these sweet potatoes to get started. And it has. I've got one that's really got several sprouts going on it now. But I mean, it's been over, was it the 1st of March, I believe? So it's been over a month, and they've got lots of roots, but they're just starting to sprout. And I think it's probably the temperature. And we do keep our house fairly cool. It's a large farmhouse, and we like it cooler just because we're usually doing stuff, and it's nice to keep it so that we're comfortable. But I do also have it on the sun porch, and it does get a little cooler in there at night. And so I think that slowed it down, but they're starting, so hopefully we can get lots of them going. The other thing are my seedlings, and they're doing really good. My geranium starts are doing superb. They never look like they were even cuttings. They always look like little geranium plants because they didn't change at all in the dirt, and I can see the roots through the plastic. But everything out there is looking good. It's just going to take a little bit of time now that it's warmed up. But I'll probably be separating. I've got a lot of the straw flowers, and I'll probably need to separate some of those. I also have a lot of flowers, seeds that I need to put out once we plant outside. I'm gonna sow them directly. But I'll put a few pictures here while I'm talking, and you can see some of the things that are growing that we planted earlier, just for an update. Okay, so now, before we add the egg whites, I'm gonna put this back here for a second. We're gonna add some salt, and I think we're just gonna add about 1/2 teaspoon, and I'm just gonna eyeball it. It's just a taste. And we're gonna add some Italian seasoning, especially if you want more of a savory type of bread, and I do. And it says about 1 teaspoon. And it's all up to your taste. If you don't want Italian seasoning, if it's not gonna go with what you're planning on using this cloud bread for, don't put it in. If you just wanna have salt and that's it, that's fine. But we like a little savory. So I'm doing a little less than 1 teaspoon because this is ground up and it is a little more potent. And then about 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. And I'll do 1/2, we like garlic powder. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to, let me stir those seasonings in real quick. I am going to take this egg cream cheese mixture, and I am going to put the egg whites on here. Now the reason I thought this might be pretty good is because, you know, I love eggs. In fact, that's what I have for breakfast. I have 2 eggs every morning for breakfast, just to keep my blood sugar correct. And I love eggs, so I thought there's nothing funky in this recipe. There's no different grains in it that maybe I wouldn't find palatable. You know, some of them are fine, some of them I just feel like they give it more of a funny texture or funny taste. And so this should just be kind of like a real fluffy egg or omelet, only it's going to be very light, and maybe that will give it more of the ability to be put like a sandwich. So I very gently folded those in. You don't want to deflate your egg whites. Now I'm going to grab my baking sheet with parchment paper. Okay, so my oven is on 300 degrees, and I am going to take this cookie sheet, and mine is insulated. I don't know if it would be better to have it uninsulated just to get more of a crust on the bottom. I'm gonna go ahead and use my insulated pan, but I do have the parchment paper, so you don't have to have any oil or anything on this. And what we're gonna do is take, I don't know, between 1/4 and 1/3 of a cup. And that one looks more like 1/2 a cup. And I'm just going to very gently plop it on this paper. And then I'm just going to kind of smooth it into kind of a round disc shape. And I'll show you what these look like up close here in just a second. And they don't have to be perfect. And I guess if you wanted to make them bigger, you could. I don't know why that would be a problem. And I think they do puff a little bit. Oops, that one's real big. You want to try to get them about the same size, that way they all cook the same amount of time. Let me go ahead and add a little more to these. We'll just make them a little bigger too, because I'm getting ready to run out of parchment paper space. I can get one more. And then I'll make these bigger. So mine are giant servings. One thing when you're working with egg whites, when you're mixing them, again, keep the egg yolks out, and be sure all of your utensils that you're whipping with, your bowl, your beaters, do not have any oil on them, because if they are oily or greasy, that will also keep your egg whites from beating up and becoming nice and fluffy. Okay, so here's what I've got. That's what I've got. So I'm going to put these in the oven, and I am going to bake them 15 to 18 minutes. So we'll see what happens. And here we have them. They look delicious. I don't know what they taste like, but they smell good too. That garlic and the Italian seasoning, it smells kind of like a pizzeria in here right now. Now, be sure you cook them long enough. I almost took them out when they felt like they were getting kind of firm, but they weren't browned yet. So I left them in a little longer and they browned. And I think that's what you want, because I think otherwise they're gonna fall apart really easily. And so they look really good, smell good. So what I'm gonna do is I am just going to let them cool a little bit, because I think they're pretty fragile right now. And I'm looking to see, again, I had an insulated sheet, so your time is going to vary, so just keep an eye on them, and you don't want to burn the bottoms either, so just keep an eye on them when you're baking them. I think it said 15 to 18 minutes, and again, I'll share the recipe with you. And you'll see it at the end of this video, in the video, and you can take a screenshot, or in a couple days it'll be on my Facebook page. But there it is. I'm gonna set these aside and let them cool. Okay, so while those were cooking, I went ahead and got everything out for the hot chicken salad. And so let's get this started. And our chicken was done and everything, and so it took no time to get done. It vented quickly. I didn't have to release the steam. It did it all by itself, and they look like they're doing really well. And there's just a little water still in there, which is what you'd expect. And I'm just taking them out, and I've had them sitting there, and so they're a little cooler, not hot enough to burn my fingers. So now what I want to do with this chicken is I just want to chop it up into the sizes that I want for my chicken salad. And if I have any fat on there, I'll take that off too. Got a few pieces here and there. Okay, so let's just give this a chop. And if your knife isn't sharp, it may end up shredding your chicken. So use a sharp knife, or wait till it's cooled off completely. And I'm first just getting them into slices. Now this recipe, I have 3 to 4 cups of chicken. It's just however much chicken you have. 3 to 4 cups will be a good amount. If you only have 2, just use 2. And again, I am just chopping this up into bite-sized pieces. Now, if you prefer the texture of shredded chicken over the diced, I don't see any reason you couldn't go ahead and just shred it. It's just going to give it a different texture. You may be wanting to dice and chop your other things a little finer if you do shred it. That way everything is kind of in equal proportions. Now these were 2 chicken breasts. One was a pretty good size, one was not too big, but I mean, anymore the chicken breasts are huge. I remember when I was young, we used to, you know, you didn't buy chicken breasts, you didn't buy chicken legs, you bought full-size chickens, and then you cut them up yourself, and you did whatever you wanted to as far as skinned it or pieced it out, but most of the time people were just eating fried chicken. But nowadays they are raising these chickens to be so large that they are much bigger than the ones we grew up with. So if we wanted to just have chicken breast, which was very rarely, you would have to cut your chicken up and then just take off the chicken breasts and then do something else with the rest of the meat. So it's a lot different nowadays. And I bet there's not too many people under the age of 50 that know how to cut up a chicken. I'm just measuring this to see what I've got here. I've just got a 1 cup measuring cup. And I'm getting about 3.5 cups. So that's what I have, just to gauge what we've got here, okay? So now we've got our chicken in there. Next thing I'm gonna do is I have boiled eggs, and I've got 4 boiled eggs, and I'm just going to rough chop them. And if you have one of those slicers, you could slice it, and then it'll get mixed up and broken down more in your chicken salad as you mix it. But I'm just giving this a chop in half, and I like to have decent sized pieces of egg because I want to know what's in there. I want to see it. Just like in cold chicken salad, it's nice to have pieces of egg that you can see. And that's usually just the egg white. The egg yolk normally kind of blends in Now, if you have been watching my channel, you also know that I am currently redoing our bedroom, and I've been working on the walls. We've got them all patched up, and if you're not familiar with my channel, we live in a 1880s Victorian farmhouse, and everything in the upstairs has never been painted. It's only been wallpapered. So when we moved in, I put wallpaper on top of the wallpaper in the bedroom that we use, and because it was in really good shape, and at that time we just needed to get moved in. We had all sorts of other work to do on the house, and so that was the easiest thing, and it worked, and it's been up for 25 years. Well, now I'm tired of it. It's not, it's outdated, of course. So I wanted to update it, just like I had updated the boys' room once they had moved. Actually, I updated the boys' room once I retired, and I painted it all, brightened it up, redid some of the stuff. And so now it's a guest room plus the boys' room. But so we ended up patching. Andy helped me. We patched the walls. We used plaster, and we also used, what we found we really liked was a patching thing that had vinyl in it, because it just seemed to secure better, sanded nicer, and I really think it will do well for those cracks. And again, this is all original plaster, lots of cracks in the wall, lots of holes. We patched everything. In fact, we think we have more plaster and patch than we have the original plaster on the wall. But we got it all sanded and looked good, and then we primed it with the Kills, and it's just the regular Kills that it's the water-based Kills, I guess. Primed it because of the residue from the wallpaper that was originally on it. And the wallpaper that I had on there was easy to strip. It was strippable. It came off real quickly. It was a real high quality wallpaper. But the original wallpaper, it wasn't original to the house, but the original wallpaper when we moved in was probably put in the 50s. And so I had to use a steamer, and that came off because there's no vinyl in it. It's just paper. Back then it was just paper with paste. And so it came off. It just took a little more work just because I had to have the steamer with it. And it really did a good job. Then once we got that off, we primed it with the Kills, the water-based Kills. And then we put 2 coats of the paint that we decided to use. And I chose kind of a warm white. It's quite white, but it's a warm color. It's got more of a cream undertone. So I think it looks really good. So I'm gonna show you a picture right here as to where we're at right now. And then what we're talking about, because a lot of you know that we were also having trouble with, once we steamed the wallpaper, it got on the wallpaper on the ceiling. And they had replaced the ceiling. It looks like they had either put drywall on top of it and then just put paper directly on top of that drywall, or they removed the drywall, or they removed the plaster ceiling and then put the new drywall on it. So the ceiling looked nice. It just had a white on white type wallpaper, but it was getting old too. You could see the lines where the paper was put together just because of age on the paper. But when I put the steamer up along the edge of the wall, it would get the steam on the ceiling, and then that would turn brown just from the paper being so old. And so then we also were going to have to do the ceiling, and I talked about maybe I just paint over it, maybe I'll wallpaper it again. And so I think what we're going to do is we're going to put some ceiling tiles. They're large, I guess kind of a plastic type substance that is a real long panel. It's very thin, but it looks like a tin ceiling, and I think it's going to look really good. So I'm going to show you the room, what it looks like now. We're going to be doing the ceilings next, and then we're going to be ripping up the carpet. Originally I was just going to paint the floor like I did with my boys' room. It's just old pine floor, nothing on it. And there's big gaps and stuff in it, but there's been lots of carpets and carpet mats that are stuck to it, so it's a lot of work to get it to where I can paint it. And so what I think we're going to do is put some kind of either a laminate or a vinyl wood plank floor in there, and I think that's gonna look real nice. So that's what we're doing right now, and I'm really wanting to get it done, so we're working on it pretty hard, but we've got everything else going on as well. But I will show you the pictures of what it looks like right now, if you're interested. So I have added my eggs to my chicken right here, and now I have about 4, I don't know, green onions here. I was gonna say stalks of green onions. I don't think that's the thing. 4 green onions, and you can use regular onions too. I have on the recipe a 1/2 cup of chopped diced onions, and you want to dice them pretty finely. But I like green onions in this, but you can use either kind. So I'm just gonna chop these up real quickly here. And again, a sharp knife makes all the difference in the world. And I want the green and the white part. Okay. And then I can give a rough chop this way too, but I don't mind it the size that they're at right there. Okay, so that would probably measure, let me see what 4 of the onions measure. Oh, I'm getting about a cup of onions, so if you like onions, 4. If you don't like onions, you can use less. And if you don't want to use onions, you can use onion powder too. That's something that you can substitute or leave it out. But I do think it gives a good flavor, and I wouldn't personally leave it out. But it's something that is up to your taste. So there is our onions. And now we're gonna do some celery, and I just took the last of one of our celeries that I just bought one yesterday, and so this one's the leftover one from the last one that we bought. It says I need 1.5 cups of diced celery or something like that. If you don't like celery, of course you can leave it out. But I think celery is kind of that flavor that you associate with chicken salad. I have a son who does not like celery, so if I were adding this to something that he was, if I were making this for him, I would either chop the celery up really small or not add it. But I don't know if it's just the texture or if it's the flavor. But if he does have it, he will eat it, you know. But back when he was younger, I would try to disguise it a little bit. So now I'm just gonna finely chop this up, and you can chop it in the sizes that you like, but I do like mine pretty small. And that way they will soften up quicker also when you're baking this. So I'm just doing like 1/4 inch slices. And because I just have this leftover celery, I'm using it all because celery is healthy, great fiber, and it's good crunch. And Andy and I both like it. Okay, let's see how much I end up adding. I have these 2 little ones that I thought were kind of small. Okay, there's a cup. A little over 1.5 cups. Just a little bit. Okay. That's good. Again, this recipe is very easy to change, and there's a lot of options, and I'm going to share with you some of those options here in a second. The next thing we want to do is add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, and I'm not even going to measure. I'm just going to count 1, 2. Then we're going to add 3/4 cup of mayo, and if you've got more chicken or more veggies, you might need to add a little bit more. So it's just kind of, again, like when you're making regular chicken salad, sometimes you need to add a little more. And so I am adding, that would be a 3/4 of a cup, a teaspoon of salt or whatever to taste. We did salt our chicken a little bit, but we've got all those veggies in there, so I'm gonna start off with about a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. We want some pepper to taste. And then one of the options that I have on the optional list is pimentos, a small jar of pimentos. And I have these chili peppers that I canned the year before last. And so I'm just gonna use some of these. I could use all of them, but I'm not gonna use all of them. I'm just gonna use some of them. Grab a fork. And so these are just chili peppers and they look really good. So about the same amount as would be in a small jar if you did pimentos. And there we go. And then the final thing that I'm adding is about 2/3 cup of slivered almonds. And these are the slivered almonds that I'm using. I'm gonna add part of them to this and then I'm gonna put a few on the top. So I'm just going to, I think I have a little more. I probably have almost a cup of them in here. So I'm gonna add some of them to that and then I'll use these to sprinkle on the top. Now, another optional ingredient that's really good in this is the water chestnuts. If you get a can of water chestnuts and just chop those up or just leave them sliced. Again, like I said, you can use 2 cups of cooked rice and a can of cream of chicken soup too. Now, if you're not going to add the cream of chicken soup, you're probably going to need to add more mayonnaise. And I am using real mayonnaise. If you have Miracle Whip, you can use Miracle Whip. It's going to be a little tangier, but I prefer the mayonnaise, but you can use Miracle Whip too, that would be fine. So let's just get this mixed and see what we got. And I'm sure there's other things that you could add to it as well, any kind of vegetable that you like. This is only going to cook for about 20 to 25 minutes until it's all bubbly. So you wouldn't want to put something in there that needed longer to cook because then you kind of overcook the rest of the stuff. And again, if I find that this is too dry, I can definitely add more mayo. Right now, it's looking pretty good. You know, something else that would probably be good if you're the bacon kind of person, a little bit of bacon in here. And you know what? I think I'm gonna add some because I think Andy would really like the bacon taste. It's just like having a couple pieces of bacon on a chicken salad sandwich. That would be good. So let me grab some chopped bacon bits. And I think this has got the right texture. Okay, let me grab those bacon bits. Now I am using real bacon bits, but I'm sure that you could use the artificial ones if you want, but the real ones are the ones we prefer. I think that'll be really good. So I probably added 2 big tablespoons of bacon bits. Now this is gonna go into a 2-quart dish, 2-quart baking dish, and it might be like an 8 by 8 or 11 by 7. If you try putting it in a 9 by 13 casserole dish, it's gonna be pretty thin and it might dry out a little more, but if you had, you know, if you added more and your amounts were larger, you could get by with it. This one is probably more on the 11 by 7 size, and it's actually a little large for this, but it should work fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour this in to my pan. And I did put a little grease, or I did put a little oil, sprayed it with a little oil to get it so that maybe it won't stick as bad and it'll be easier to clean. Guys, this smells really good. And then I'm just gonna I'm not gonna press it down, just evenly distributing it. Now, if you want, at this point, you can take some potato chips and then I've got my cheese here. You can put cheese on the top here, grated cheese, and I have on the recipe 3/4 cup of grated cheese, but again, it's your chicken salad. You can add what you want. And then after you put the cheese on there, you can add the potato chips. You can also use corn flakes with a little butter, sprinkle those on. Any of those types of toppings are great, but if you're wanting to keep this carb friendly and keto friendly, you would leave that off. So I'm gonna hold off on putting my cheese, because if you've seen me with other casseroles, I like to add the cheese at the end, that way it doesn't dry out. But I am going to put another, or whatever was left of my slivered almonds, and they will toast nicely on the top. And those will be really good. And then when I get close to having it done, just a few minutes before I take it out of the oven, I'll sprinkle my cheese on top. So there we have our salad, chicken salad. Now we're gonna make it hot. We're gonna stick it in a 350-degree oven, and we're gonna cook about 25 to 30 minutes. You don't want to overcook it. You just want to heat everything up and get it bubbly. All right, guys, you might have thought we were finished cooking like me, but no, we're gonna cook something else, because as I was cleaning up, I still have 6 ounces of cream cheese that if I don't use now, it will probably just sit in my refrigerator and dry up. So we're gonna use it. And so what I'm gonna do is I've got sugar-free strawberry jello. It's a 0.3 ounce box. And I have a 1/2 cup of boiling water here. It's just taken out of the microwave and it's super hot. You wanna make sure it's super hot, because that 1/2 cup of boiling water needs to get that jello nicely dissolved. If it's not super hot, you're gonna have granules in your jello. So we're gonna let that sit here and dissolve completely. And while that is dissolving, I'm gonna take my full pack of strawberries. Now, if I weren't putting strawberries in this one, I would use a full cup of water. But because I'm putting strawberries in it, I'm using just a 1/2 cup of water. And I think I'm gonna I'm gonna save some of these, because I think I'm gonna use them in the dessert itself. So I'm gonna take, this is probably, and these are just from our garden from last year. This is probably over a cup of full-size berries that were frozen. And I've let them thaw out just a little bit, so they're just a little bit slushy, but mostly frozen. They're still holding their shape, but it's easy for me to chop them with this chopper. And I'm just gonna get them into small pieces. And these smell so good. Our strawberries are just starting to show a few blooms here and there, but we don't want them to get full bloomed yet, because we still have chances of frost, so we're fine if they hold off. Our cherry tree bloomed fully, and throughout the time that it was blooming, we had decent weather, and so I think we're gonna have probably good cherries this year again, and we're always like that. So I just chopped them. You can mash them, whatever you like. So I've got that. Now what I'm gonna do is I am gonna take my cream cheese mixture and put it right there. And this is really soft. You want it to be really soft. If it's hard, it's not gonna mix as well. And as soon as you feel like your jello is all dissolved, you don't see those little red granules hanging around. That looks pretty good. We're gonna pour it. You can have it hot and all right into that, and that also will help that cream cheese soften. all I've got here is a half a cup of water, 1 package of strawberry jello, and you can use a full 8 ounces of your cream cheese, but I'm just using what I had, so I have 6 ounces. Now I'm just gonna get that and mix that cream cheese with that jello. Just kind of dissolves right into it. Just makes kind of a creamy looking jello. And it starts thickening up just a little bit because of it's cooling down a little, but not too much. But I want all of that cream cheese to be broken down. And there's what I have right there, okay? Now, when I add this frozen strawberries, this is gonna thicken up pretty good. Now, if you're not adding strawberries, then you can add either ice, or you can use a 1 cup of water and then chill it and get it fairly firm, but not solid, just cooled down. And okay, I lost you. I'd run out of storage space on my phone, and I got you back on now. So I just added those strawberries, and it's thickening up pretty quickly. Now what we're gonna do is we are going to add our whipped cream. Now you can use Cool Whip. They have the sugar-free version, or just regular Cool Whip. Again, you don't have to make this sugar-free. This is good however you make it. I'm using whipped cream, actual whipped cream, because I think it's healthier for you and it tastes much better. So I've only added vanilla to my whipped cream, no sweetener, because there's sweetener in our Jell-O. So I'm gonna take, and I'm gonna estimate 1, 2, it's probably a little bit less than a regular size thing of Cool Whip. And I'm just folding this into my Jell-O mixture. Just like this. That looks good. Now, I think when my storage went out, I was telling you that, and I can't remember now, but I'll say it again. If you are not using frozen strawberries, you'll want to cool down your Jell-O in the refrigerator just a little bit so it starts setting some, and then add this. Otherwise, it will kind of deflate your whipped topping. So now what we can do, I've still got some whipped topping in here, is we can either make individual serving dishes, or we can put it into a bowl. So I'm going to do both. I've just got a small glass bowl. And so I've got those strawberries, I've got a little extra whipped cream, and then I've got the moussey stuff here. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with the mousse. Add some whipped cream. And if you wanted to, you could add some sugar to your whipped cream if you're not wanting it to be keto friendly, or you can add a sugar substitute, okay? And then strawberries. And if you wanted to, you can put some, in fact, I might do that. Let me just add a little bit of sweetener to our strawberries, and I'm just gonna use, let me think, I think allulose. I think I'll use allulose. Okay, I'm using allulose, and it is a little less sweet than sugar, so for 1 teaspoon of sugar, you'd use 1 1/3 teaspoon of sugar. So I'm just sweetening up these strawberries just a little bit. And let's see if I can find trying to keep them from, and that way they'll have a sweet taste in there too. But if you like your strawberries just, you know, without sweetener, that's fine too. A little honey, a little maple syrup, you know, anything like that would be good. So I've got my mousse, I've got my whipped cream, then I'm gonna put a couple of strawberries, and then another dollop of the mousse. and top it off with a dollop of that. And you could even put a strawberry on top. So you can do that for an individual dish, or you could do the same thing with a bowl. And it's pretty if it's clear, but it doesn't have to be. And here I am spilling it all over. And just put a layer. And I'm gonna make another individual one here for Andy. So I won't use all of these strawberries. And just set them in there like that. Put a little whipped cream. And a little more of this strawberry mousse. And it's wanting to thicken up, so it looks like it's going to do a good job. And you can just call it like a strawberry fluff. Let me go ahead, make sure we use everything up here. Put that in there. I'll have to clean my glasses up a little bit. They're a little messy. Cooked quite a bit today. We're gonna have a feast. Okay. Dollop of whipped cream, and we've got those two made. I'll clean those glasses up. Okay, so then I'm gonna put some whipped cream on this one. I'm just gonna use up the rest. Actually, let me just, there's not much of this left. Let me put this in. And then we'll top it with the whipped cream. Okay, now we'll top it with whipped cream. All right. I will clean up my bowls to make them look a little less drippy. And I'll stick these in the refrigerator for us to have after dinner. But I will be bringing you back as we get ready to serve up our hot chicken salad, and we'll see how our cloud bread tastes at that time too. So I'll see you in a little bit. And it has just come out of the oven. It's piping hot. Let's see what we can do here. This looks so good. The kitchen smells delicious. Let's see, the first thing, let me just bring this sheet on top of here. I was seeing how easily these came off. Don't they look pretty? And they are sticking, and I don't know if it's because I have an insulated sheet and it's very humid today, or if that's just the way they do. I did go back and look at the recipe, and it did say just parchment paper. It didn't say it was greased or anything. So you'll just have to be real careful when you remove these, and they come off easy. It's not any big deal, but they do look like a bread texture. I mean, if I saw this, I would say, oh, that's bread. That's neat. So let's just use one for the top and one for the bottom. Move this aside now. Okay, let's just get a nice spot here with a little cheese on it. And you can just dip in, and it's smelling so good. Let's see if I can move that out of the way there. Look at that. Doesn't that look delicious? This is delicious. Okay, and I might as well dress it up like it's a chicken salad sandwich. I'm gonna put a little tomato and a little bit of spinach. Could use lettuce. And then there is our bun. And so that's what it looks like. And again, these are filling pretty good. Now, they say to go ahead and refrigerate them, and they are best eaten within 12 hours, it said. But, you know, if you refrigerate them, and I think you could probably freeze them too. I don't think that would be a problem. So let's give this a taste. All right, guys, I cut this in half. And when I cut it in half and I moved it a little bit, I noticed the cloud bread at the bottom is kind of melting. You know, this is egg whites, and softened up a lot. So I'm not sure if I can hold this. Let me see. I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna flip it over. Okay, so the bread at the bottom has really gotten soft. So it would kind of fall apart if I were holding it at that end. So if it were cold, I don't think it's a problem, but I think it's because it's hot. So you might need to eat this with a fork, but let's taste it. That is really, really good. Now, I really like the flavor of that bread with it. The Italian seasonings, the garlic, that really goes well with this hot chicken salad. Now, as far as the hot chicken salad goes, I'm getting those almonds, the celery, still a little crunchy, the bacon bits. I think that really gives it a great taste. It is just excellent as a sandwich. So I hope that you get a chance to try this low carb, really delicious meal. You know, just because you're watching your carbs doesn't mean you have to suffer. Foods like this are really, really good. And they're really the same thing that you would normally eat, only instead of having regular bread, you are having something that's really good. That cloud bread is good. So I hope you give this a try. Again, the recipes are going to be at the end of this video. You can pause the video and take screenshots, and then I'll also be posting them on Facebook in a couple of days. All right, guys, time to sample the dessert. It's looking good, and it's set up, and I will show you here. Very thick, and it looks good. Let's taste it. I would not believe that this is sugar-free. It tastes so rich. That cream cheese, that tastes good, and that whipped cream. Strawberries. This is delicious. You're gonna have to try this one too. This is really, really good. No sugar. It does have the fruit, which has the natural sugars, but no added sugar. And it's delicious. So there we have our low carb meal with our low carb dessert, and it is all so delicious. So if you too are thinking about needing to reduce your carbs, these are some great options. You know, you don't want to go overboard and completely get rid of every piece of bread, every piece of sugar, you know, because you can't maintain that. You need to make these little changes that you can do for the rest of your life. And I certainly could do this for the rest of my life, even though it's not something that's low calorie. It is low sugar, or zero sugar if you don't put the strawberries in. But it is delicious. And just monitoring those sugars and carbs and being aware of what you're putting in your body, that will make all the difference in the world. So I hope you give these recipes a try. Like I said, they are really, really good. And I wouldn't have known any of these things were low carb or low sugar, because they all taste really, really satisfying and delicious. So if you enjoyed my video today, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate that. Also, don't forget to like and share. And as always, I hope you have a great week, and I hope to see you back here next time. Bye-bye.